Hi, I'm Ava Sankara,
And I'm Ria Abraham,
and you're watching The Fast Breakdown.
your weekly women's hoops coverage. So, the first thing we're going to be talking about today is free agency and how that has shaped each of the teams and what they've been doing. So, the first team we're going to talk about is the Atlanta Dream. So, the Atlanta Dream have managed to keep a lot of their pieces that really helped them do well in the regular season last year. So, they still have Naz Hillman, Sixth Woman of the Year, Ryan Howard, Alicia Gray, Brianna Jones, and Jordan Canada. And they also had that trade which got them Angel Reese, who's hopefully going to be a key part of their gameplay this season. What do you think? I think they're really going to be like a championship contending team.
I agree. They're definitely going to be championship contenders, and they've improved and retained their key pieces from last year, aside from Brittany Griner, which we'll talk about later. But honestly, I think they're going to be amazing next year. I don't see them falling past like 3 seed, 4 seed, unless like their chemistry is really off. It's the same team from last season. Had Angel Reese, who is a great basketball player, and you have a championship contender right there. So I think the grade I would give the Atlanta Dream for free agency would be B plus. I don't think they got major acquisitions other than Angel Reese, but at the same time, they're running back a really good teams.
The only issue with that would be what happened last season. They got out in the first round to an Indiana Fever team that was mostly injured, kind of just like Kelsey Mitchell and Aaliyah Boston. And so hopefully that doesn't happen again because they looked really strong in the regular season, and then we went to postseason and it just kind of fell apart. So hoping that that's not what happens and they can really make a deep run this year.
So the next team is the Chicago Sky, who absolutely ate up free agency. So I thought after they traded Angel Reese that they'd be done for because, she was their most important player, but that was not the case. So they got Skylar Diggins, they got Rakia Jackson, Azare Stevens, and they're keeping Camila Cardoso. So they have a really strong lineup right there. I think that they can genuinely like compete for a playoff spot, or they have a guaranteed playoff spot. And that I don't know if they're championship contenders, but they definitely have a good chance of being a really interesting team. And I thought the Sky were gonna go to shit because honestly they were horrible like last season, but they have amazing players. Like I'm really excited to see them now. And most teams losing Angel Reese would be worse than they were before, but I actually think the Sky have gotten significantly better. So they definitely have been like for me the biggest winner of free agency. They've got so many good agents to come. So I would give them an A. I think they were amazing.
Yeah. And it's going to be super exciting to see these players play together, like Dejanay Carrington and the two from the Sparks, and really see how they do because like the only thing that could possibly hold them back would be chemistry and how do they work together because individually these pieces are all really strong and they again really good moves by the Chicago Sky management.
Right. So the next team is the Connecticut Sun. And the Connecticut Sun did some interesting things during free agency because they are moving to Houston next season. They are kind of amidst a rebuild, so they're not really looking to be contenders, and you can kind of tell by what they did in free agency. They offered Brittany Griner a near max contract, and she is a player that's not really going to be contributing that much because she's like sitting on the bench. She sat on the bench in Atlanta. I don't think she's going to be their starting center. Ria, what do you think?
Yeah, I think they didn't make too many moves. They mainly kept the players they had, Olivia Nelson Doda and those players. And their only real acquisition was Brittany Griner, who I hope that she's able to play well here. She wasn't really able to thrive on the Dream. Like I think she had a really good time on the Mercury, and then moving to the Dream was a transition that didn't really work for her, and which is why she's obviously not staying there. And yeah, I don't see the Sun being a championship contending team, and they didn't do a lot this free agency. So it's just kind of, like you said, a rebuild year. So I'm still excited to see some players, but they've lost like Marina Mabry, they've lost some people, and they only got Brittany Griner, so they're not going to be really great. So I think a grade, they didn't really do anything. C plus, B
C
minus.
plus. I would say that too. I think C plus is actually a little generous because I definitely feel like they've downgraded from last year to no fault of their own, but they didn't protect Marina Mabry, and then she went in the expansion draft, and she was a pretty important part of their team last season. Oh yeah, I think they're gonna be worse, but also they really have no incentive to be that good this season. So at the same time, it's like it was probably what was best for the organization. They're building up their young players.
Okay, now we have the Dallas Wings. So the Dallas Wings, we have seen a lot of movement. It's been really exciting watching them. So they have gotten um So they initially, so they already have Paige Beckers on her rookie contract, and they have kept Arike Ogunbowale. They kept Leah Rue and Grace Berger, and then they got Raya Marshall from the Sun. They got Alana Smith. They got a Awaka Kuyer. I think she was on the team, but she didn't really play last year. She was overseas. And we got Jessica Shepard. So we got a lot of strong bigs, which was a huge concern last year. And then they had a bunch of people signing training camp contracts to kind of see because Amy Okonkwo came in towards the end of the season last year and she was really good for them. And then Cheyenne Sellers, I love her. I'm so glad that she's coming back. I really hope she makes the team and some other players. Um, and so they've made a lot of moves, and now they got AZ Flood in the draft. So I'm excited to see how this team goes. I don't know that it's necessarily going to be like an amazing team. I don't think their playoff spot is like cemented, but I think that they have potential, and I think we could really see something good this year, at least the start of something new.
Agree. I mean, getting Alana Smith, who's like all defensive player, that was pretty great acquisition as we kind of predicted it in our last video that she was going to go there. So that's amazing. Jessica Shepard, I don't know if I agree with paying her a near max contract to play. She was not even a starter last year in the Lynx. She's a really good player. So not saying that I'm like sad about the acquisition, super happy. Yeah, so they have signed Arike as well. It kind of feels like they are trying to like stack up on the bigs, hope for the best, and like kind of overcorrect what happened last year. But honestly, I'm looking forward to a season where Paige Beckers plays with a good center, good defensive players. Hopefully no one gets injured. But it'll definitely be an interesting season to watch. I think that they made some pretty big moves in free agency. And, I would say a B plus as well. I think they did pretty good in free agency. I would say the only thing is I think they overpaid Anna Smith and Jessica Shepard. But, if they end up playing really good, then that'll be worth it. I think
Yeah,
one
and I
thing is
guess
that
you
they stayed on really long contracts, like 2 to 3 year contracts. Like they can't just get rid of them after 1 year, which is kind of sad because it's if it is an overpay, then there's really no way to get rid of them other than trading them. And you have to look for a team that will take on their contracts. But if they are doing well, then it's definitely worth
I guess when you are a team that has money to spend, like we mentioned how there are so many players on rookie contracts in Dallas, then you've got to try and spend the money to get who you can because otherwise then everyone's just going to stay with the power teams and not come to rebuilding one. So I think hopefully it was the right move. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, I agree with the grade. And our next one that we're going to talk about is our home team, the Golden State Valkyries. So the Valkyries, their biggest thing, they didn't do a lot, but the biggest thing they did was get Gabby Williams. I'm literally so excited to see Gabby Williams. I love her so much, and to see her in the Valkyries, it's going to be really exciting. So they have um, Gabby Williams, and then kept Kayla Thornton, Veronica Burton, and I think Cecilia Vandalacini, and uh, bringing in I don't remember how to say it, but she was their first ever draft pick, and she didn't play last season, so it's going to be interesting to see how she does. And then Ileana Rupert, Caitlin Chen, so a lot of their players from last year um, are going to be coming back with the addition of Gabby Williams. Is there anyone else do you remember that they added?
it. They added Kia Stokes, but I don't know if that's really gonna be an important piece because she didn't really do anything on the Aces last year. So yeah, I think they made a decision to kind of run back their team. They made some interesting draft decisions, but overall, I could see the Valkyries being again like kind of a edge seventh, eighth seed. I don't think they're going to be significantly better than last year, but also they were pretty good last year. They like exceeded expectations, and excited to see them. I would give their free agency a solid B. They did good with Gabby Williams. They did good with like not letting any too many major players go. But at the same time didn't really get some really big pieces that they needed. Like I'm assuming they don't really have a center, so I'm assuming Rupert is going to step up and be their starting center this year. I don't think she was last year. So our next team is going to be the Las Vegas Aces. So the Aces are an interesting team, right? They've won 3 championships now under the Asia Wilson era, and they are kind of running it back. They have Jackie Young. They have Asia Wilson, they have Chelsea Gray. So I think they brought back Melissa Smith. So they have a lot of the returning players from last year at the big three. It'll be interesting though because Chelsea Gray is an aging player, and while she did do good and Unrivaled, I don't know how good she's going to be this season. It'll definitely be interesting. She's still an amazing player, regardless of whether she really hits the peaks of what she was. Yeah, it'll be interesting. Jackie Young is one of the best guards in the league. Wilson's amazing. I think for the Aces, it's less about their team and more about if every other team in the league improves because they're basically running it back.
Yeah, I agree. They didn't make any moves. I don't see anyone that they added onto their roster. They really were focusing on keep our big three plus Jewel Lloyd and run it back, like you said. And when you're giving like three players like such a large amount of money since they are like star players, it's hard to get any other free agents. It's unlikely that they're going to be getting any other high profile or like all-star level players because they already got their three, so they really have to have everyone else kind of sit back and hope that these three will carry it. But yeah, so they didn't really make any moves other than keeping them. So right, B plus.
Yeah, I would say B. I think they did good by keeping their main three, but also again, not really any new acquisitions. And I think because every other team, or I guess most of the other teams have gotten so much better, just kind of feels like they haven't really done as much. But you know what? They have a winning formula. It's worked for them. Even if I was the Aces GM, I wouldn't see a reason to change it. So it's pretty cool. Um, so we also have the Sparks, and the Sparks are really interesting because the Sparks have Kelsey Plum, Dearica Hamby, NECA. I'm definitely missing someone. Aaron Atkins. And the funniest thing is, out of those four players, guess who's paid the highest?
So I know it's not Kelsey Plum because she went for her under million. I don't remember how much NECA is going to be.
It's Ariel Atkins. She's being paid the highest out of all four of them. I know, and
Because she's
I
on the Supermax
number.
from Sky. Is she still on the Supermax from the Sky?
It's
San Antonio?
I don't know if it's a supermax, but it's like definitely a max contract. But it's insane. I was thinking about that, and I was like, Kelsey Plum took a pay cut. She's like paid $999,000 because I suppose she wanted like to avoid taxes in California because when you get $2 million, you get taxed a different percentage, but it's like barely anything. I don't know. I think mainly she wanted to do it so that way the team would get better chance of contending because they could sign more people. You know, she was on Supermax, which is like $400,000 more. Then they'd have less room for other people. Like NECA's also not being paid the max, so there's something to think about. Yeah, I think that the Sparks are kind of exemplifying like another trend in free agency, which is the role players or the not megastars are taking more money than the star players because the star players have endorsements and ads and they have other sources of revenue. And these are the first times these role players are going to be paid as much as they are currently. They're taking those max contracts, as you saw with Alana Smith, Jessica Shepard, Bridget Carlton, and now with Ariel Atkins. It's like they don't have that many sources of outside revenue, so they are making the most they can in the league. And star players like Kelsey Plum are making nowhere close to what they're making. So that's interesting to see. The Sparks definitely seem like a decent team this year, though. I think they've gotten better because of the addition of NECA. It'll be definitely interesting to see them. I like their free agency. Rhea, what do you give them?
Yeah, they definitely made good moves, but also they did lose a lot of players in Rikia Jackson and Azurá Stevens, and I think they're going to be in kind of a similar position to last year, where they're kind of fighting for the last few playoff spots. So their free agency, I would give it a, a B plus, maybe an A minus. What do
You're
you
too
think?
nice to them. I would say I don't know if it would be I think a B plus is fair actually. I don't know if we'd quite reach the A dish territory because they lost Rikia and they lost Azure, but you
They
know,
traded her away. Why did they trade Rikia for Ariel Atkins?
I still don't understand that one. Did she want out? Did they really want her to replace her with
Maybe.
Ariel Atkins? Because one player is definitely better than the other one. So it'll be interesting to see, definitely. Yeah. I agree with
So
Ray that they're gonna end up in the same spot that they did last year. I don't really see them making significant improvements, but you know what? We'll see. Every team meshes differently because of chemistry, and the Aces last year were doing really badly until like mid-season with that 50-point beatdown, and then they just like woke up and did really good.
okay, our next team is the Indiana Fever. So the Indiana Fever actually made a bunch of changes. Well, I wouldn't say a bunch, but they definitely added some pieces. So they kept Kelsey Mitchell, right? Very key piece. I think Aaliyah Boston's still on her rookie contract and Caitlin Clark. And then they added Mobile Links from the Valkyries. I was so sad that she was gone. And then they lost Natasha Howard to the Lynx, I think.
Links.
So they're keeping Lexi Hall. And who else? I feel like there was someone else they added.
They added Mahisha Hines Allen from the Wings.
Aisha Handbound. I don't know how much that's gonna do for them, but
Who wasn't
they
a good impact player for the Wings last year, but in previous years she has championship experience. She had played for the Lynx, so I think that it'll be an interesting addition. She wasn't good on the Wings last year, but also like no player was good on the Wings last year except for Paige. So I don't know if that really says anything about her. Like almost every single player's stats went down. Like Janay Carrington did horrible on the Wings, and Alyssa Smith was a lot better on the Aces. Enrique's stats went down, so I don't know. It was probably like a coaching thing. So she could be a lot better on the Fever than she was on the Wings.
and the Fever. I think they made some good moves. They didn't, again, not as many moves as some of the other teams, at least so far. And not as if they can gel together like they did in the postseason last year, like that'll be great. But the reason that they had that group was because there were so many injuries. They obviously don't have the same group. So I don't know how it's gonna go. We'll see how this goes. I wouldn't give them too high of a grade. Maybe a B.
I think a B too. They added some key rotational pieces like Mo Billings and um Micah Hines Allen, but again, no new star players. I like that they signed Kelsey Mitchell to Supermax. I thought that was really cool because she's been with Indiana for so long. It was nice seeing a star player getting paid the Supermax and getting rewarded for their tenure. It's pretty cool to see. So I like that decision.
Only thing is that that contract is 1 year, so it's again raises the question, do you think Kelsey Mitchell will be moving after that 1 year? Because she definitely is like the star player on there, and if things don't work out this year, I think she'll be like there are gonna be so many teams that are ready for her. So we'll see how it goes this season.
I think most of the players on the Indiana Fever actually sign 1-year deals, just like Sophie Cunningham, because they're making room for Ollie Boston next year, who's eligible for the max, and Caitlin Clark is eligible for the 4th-year rookie, which is like significantly more than the 500K she's being currently paid. So that's probably why they're all on 1-year deals, so that way they can readjust to when both of them kind of graduate to higher skill contracts. So next we have the Minnesota Lynx. The Lynx, oh man,
Minnesota
I
Lynx.
feel bad for them.
What are they doing right now? I genuinely don't know. Like I've seen who do they have right now? Okay. Courtney Williams. Injured Nafisa Collier. Kayla McBride. Natasha Howard.
It was just announced that Dorka Hugh has is coming back, so that'd be interesting. She was a good player.
And then they have a bunch of people on rookie contracts right now. They signed a bunch of people onto
Oh, they have Natasha Howard. She signed with the Lynx.
yeah. And it's just they had so many pieces last year. Where did they all go? They just let everyone go, it feels like.
Yeah,
It's
on the
just
Lynx, I like Loki. I was thinking like Paige is friends
is
with.
this even a playoff team anymore? What is this?
I know. I mean, I still think they have some really good pieces in Courtney Williams and Nafisa Collier and Caitlin McBride, but in Dorka Yu has coming back is pretty big for them because she was really good in Europe and also when she did play for the Lynx. But yeah, they lost Bridget Carlton, Jessica Shepard, and Alana Smith, and those three were pretty big. I think the one thing about them is none of them played well in their playoff games. So that could be a reason why they felt more comfortable leaving. Maybe they felt like they spent too much time in Minnesota without a championship, so they wanted to move on to bigger, better things. But honestly, the Lynx are such a championship-ridden franchise that it kind of feels like a mistake to leave them. Like, we'll see how each of them do at their respective franchises. It's interesting, though. They let all three of them walk. I don't know. I don't know how to
Yeah,
feel about that one.
they lost even like the added Dejanay Carrington, they lost that too. it feels like last year, I felt like when you look at the links, it's just every single player, star player, star player, star player, star player. Like everyone can like go off, but they lost. I feel like all of them. It's really hard to see what are they going to be like next year. I feel like I haven't seen a lot of these players even play because they're not starters.
Yeah. I think I would give them as a grade like a C minus. They didn't do good. They got Natasha Howard, which is cool, but they like lost so many players.
She's good on
I don't
defense.
think they're going to be the number one seed, and I think they're going to be kind of in that fighting for a playoff spot place unless Fee Collier comes in. She's like completely dominant, which I don't know. She's coming off of two ankle surgeries. I don't see that happening. So next we have the Phoenix Mercury. The Mercury are also interesting because they're also one of those teams that kind of wants to run it back. They have Ka, AT, DeWanna Bonner. A lot of the pieces have come back. I think they don't have Sawtu anymore because she signed with Liberty. But they're gonna be pretty good. I think the big three of Ka, Sawtu, and AT didn't really work that well. Like whenever all three of them were on court, they didn't play well together. So honestly, I think it was a better decision to split them up. But yeah, interesting. They are doing what they did last year, and they're sending a lot of international players to training camp, and they managed to find some really good gems last year with that. So it's exciting to see. They signed Sammy Whitcomb again, which she had that like insane heater against the Wings. I remember that was pretty cool to see. So nice that she's getting her money. Yeah. They're again like the Aces running it back. I think I can see them probably at like a B minus. They didn't sign anyone new, but also they didn't lose too many key players.
So our next team is the New York Liberty. So like we mentioned, Satu Sabali is now on the Liberty just after her sister got drafted by the Tempo, which is crazy. Like one Sabali out, the other one's in. We'll see how Satu Sabali meshes with the people. She's with uh Serena Ionescu, who she played with on the Oregon Ducks with her sister again. So we'll see how that connection works and her German teammate Leonie Fibich. So that'll be nice to see them all together. They have the Liberty have signed a lot of their players back again with Maureen Johannes, Rebecca Gardner. They've extended offers to. I don't know that they've signed yet. And then we also have Brianna Stewart and Sabrina Ionescu, who both stated that they are returning to the Liberty. And we did see some struggle in the Liberty last season. It wasn't like what we saw in their championship year, where they had injuries and then just people not performing the way they have been, and they ended up getting out in the first round against the Mercury, which was disappointing to see for and then their coach got fired, so now she's on Toronto. So we'll really see how the Liberty do this year. It's they also haven't made many changes so far other than adding Satu Sabali.
Yeah, I really like their free agency though, like signing key players back and then adding Satu. That sounds, I mean, I know we said this last year, but it sounds like a championship caliber team again this year. Like honestly, I'll be surprised if they don't take it this year. I could see them as like between them and the Dream, maybe the Aces, three teams. They are gonna be good. I think I'd give them an A for this free agency. I think a part of it is, I think part of free agency is keeping your old players and making them offers. And then part of it is getting new key pieces that can make your team better. And I think that's exactly what Liberty did. They enhanced their team while also keeping key players. I feel like a lot of teams, the problem with them is the Chicago Sky, they brought in a lot of new players, but they also like lost a player in Angel Reese, so they kind of didn't really go for it there. But there's some teams like the Liberty that retain most of their key players, then added a new player that is so freaking good. So I don't know. I give them an A.
Okay, I can see that. Maybe A minus, but okay. Now we have the Portland Fire, one of our expansion teams. So the Portland Fire are who we mentioned Bridget Carlton got her Supermax from. So they made some interesting choices in this expansion draft. I think we can all agree that some of the players they picked were, I mean, I guess you only have the unprotected players to pick from, but I thought some of them were interesting. Like I agree with, Carla Light, Luisa Geisel Soto, I'd see. And then some of the other ones, I don't know how I feel about them. Haley Jones, I love her, but I don't know that I would pick her. Chloe Bibby, she was added very late onto the Fever. We'll see how she does with the bigger role. And then we mentioned that Bridget Carlton has the Supermax on the Fire. So they don't really have any like, clear. I mean, it's hard to have a star player when you're during the expansion draft, but even after in free agency, there's not a lot of free agents, high profile free agents that they really went after that we can see.
Yeah, the Fire are tanking. They're tanking for the 2027 draft because that's the Juju draft. It's the Hannah Hidalgo draft. That's the Madison Booker draft. They need a generational player. They need to be. I think they're like clearly tanking. I don't know. If you see the difference between them and then the Tempo, which we'll talk about next, there's such a big difference. Like one of them is trying to win and the other one is actively trying to take. I don't know. I give the Fire a D. I don't like their signings. I don't think they did good in free agency, but I also don't think they wanted to. So that was their intention, I think.
Okay.
Sorry, that was too hot, maybe. Yeah, okay, so Tempo. Tempo have oh, I forget it.
So
They have Marina Mabury signed to Max. They have
Sykes.
Brittany Sykes signed to Max.
They have Julia Almond. They have Izzy Harrison. I think she wasn't huge for the Liberty last season, but hopefully she can make something work. They have Aaliyah Nye, who was good for the Aces, rookie, they're rookie. Um, I think they're and then Yara Sabli. So they have some key players. They have like Marina Mabrey, I think is going to be big for them. They went out and got Brittany Sykes, not just the people they had in their draft, which I think is an important thing to do that Portland didn't really do.
Yeah, I really enjoyed seeing the Tempo's picks, and I think the Tempo like genuinely did construct a team to at least attempt to win. Like I don't know. I'm seeing them as like fighting for a contender spot. Obviously, you don't know how experienced and franchises are going to be because the Valkyries were a success. But before that, you had the move to Dallas, which I don't know, maybe it wasn't like start of a franchise because they moved. Like, but still, they did pretty poorly in their first few years. So it depends. It depends. Um, Again, Toronto has a lot of like fan support, and I think what really pushed the Valkyries over the edge was the fact that they had so much fan support. The front office did a really good job. Their coach was really good. So there's a lot of factors going into it that I don't know the Tempo has. They have Sandy Brodello coaching, who has coached championship team, so I can see them doing pretty good with their pieces. I don't know. We'll see. I think the Tempo they deserve a B plus, maybe even A minus. I like their picks.
And then the Seattle Storm. So the Seattle Storm, so they've lost kind of their star players. Skylar Diggins, gone. Nneka Gubake, gone. Gabby Williams, gone, right? So they got some player they kept Ezzy Magbegor. They had her as their core player actually, which I thought was an interesting choice, but I guess they're kind of trying to invest in her and see how she does. And then so they have Natisha Heidemann, Stephanie Dolson from the Mystics, Zaya Cook, but not too many people to replace what they lost. So I don't know how they're gonna do it. It feels like they have to definitely make some more moves because right now they don't really
Yeah,
have
I think they're
like
like
a
relying on the star power of Don Malonga and friends. I actually, you know what? They're in a rebuild too. They just lost their longtime coach and all their star players moved. It seems like it was kind of an intentional move. I think they are starting a rebuild and starting to like kind of put together put together their pieces for their next run. The Seattle Storm is a historically very successful franchise. I don't doubt that they're going to be back to where they were a few years ago. Yeah, it takes time. Um, their stars were aging. Their stars didn't like the fact that Noelle Quinn wasn't coach anymore and they left. So I think it'll be interesting to see the coaching change, to see the change in star players focused on Ezzy Don Malonga, their pick in the draft. So it'll be interesting to see them. I don't think they won in this free agency. I think I would give them a C. I don't know.
it's
But
really upsetting, a team that had so much in them. They almost beat the Aces in the playoffs last year, but then, when you lose everyone, I don't think they're gonna getting far this year. It's a rebuild for sure.
yeah, and I think our last team is the Washington Mystics, who are by far the most interesting team. They're fascinating. They have a strategy. They trade players, stock up on draft picks, and every year they have a crazy amount of draft picks, first round draft picks. It's actually insane to me because right now they have Shakira Austin Sonia Citron, Kiki Iriafin, and friends.
Yeah, I think Sonia, Kiki, and Georgia Amor were their first round picks last year. And then this year they again had three first round draft picks, which they like traded away some like they traded away their all-star like Brittany Sykes. I think she also wanted out, but it was a bunch of trades to just get those first round picks. And then you look at the draft board and you go, whoa, the Mystics are gonna get everyone.
Yeah, I think they have a like an interesting strategy of stacking picks and rebuilding literally only through the draft because I'm not seeing any big free agency moves because I think the only person they didn't really get her, but like I know that Shakira Austin was offered an offer by the Fire, I think believe.
It was the tempo. What I thought was so
So
interesting is, anyway, the point is that Tempo wanted her. She wanted to go to the tempo, and they said no, and they matched the offer because that's what they can do when she's a restricted free agent. So we'll see how that goes. And I don't know if she wanted to stay in DC, so see how that relationship goes between her and the team.
yeah, and then that's all for our analysis on the free agencies. I think one trend we're noticing is again that role players getting paid hella and star players are taking pay cuts because they want to rebuild and create championship contending teams. And I think nearly every single team has gotten way better than they were last season, so it'll be super interesting.
That's it for today, and thank you for listening. If you want to hear us break down more topics, please like and subscribe, and find us also on TikTok and Spotify.